So again, thanks Runcy for delivering amazing session. Just wanted to ask, because your session was between the lunch and because that's all the time where people get hungry, right? So what I seen one element in your slide, the Pictionary one, and even I could not think of GDG Gandhinagar in that way. So how much time or how did you prepare that?
So the moment I saw, for once again, thank you for having me for GDG Cloud Gandhinagar session. I think it was a pleasure coming here. It's my first time to Gujarat, and I loved the people and interactions that I've had. So that's pretty good. Now coming to your question, I was looking at the agenda, and it was sort of like in between the lunch and the fun session that was there. So I thought, just to get the people back into the attentive mode, I had to do something, and what better way than to play a game. And I had multiple things, maybe to spot few things or few other things that's going on. And then I thought, let's do a Pictionary game of all the Google Cloud services, the important ones, right? And I did like about 4 of them, and the last one I wanted it to be like very relatable, non-tech, and that's how the Gandhinagar came into the picture.
The way you distributed Nagar, I can't imagine it. It's very hard.
Yeah. So
right? Because Nagar is actually a single word.
Right.
And that also is split into 2. It's very hard to guess. I hope someone guessed it, right?
Yeah, one of the speaker actually guessed it. So that was a giveaway for the speaker.
But your topic is mostly related to security, right?
Yep.
So security is the one thing where mostly, and cybersecurity is the one domain is evolving a lot, right? But there are such areas like, networking, infrastructure, data center engineering. So what do you think in the security side, what are the underrated roles? Because for example, when I used to talk to Dharmesh, right, where we talked about pre-sales or a solution engineering kind of role, which is really good, where you should be technically sounded as well. But if you are good with the customer centric, that gives you little added advantage to touch the round perspective or the broader perspective of client requirement.
Yeah.
So in security area, do you have any areas where people can explore?
Yeah, so security is definitely an important thing, and it's definitely not for everybody. You have to have some sort of like a developer or a hacker mindset to get into the security, right? Because the hackers are always 2 steps ahead of you. So you have to think like a hacker to secure your organization. That is where that ethical security and all of that comes into the picture. So now it would also be very difficult if you get into the security field without any development experience as well, because there are instances where you will have to write script, monitor and all of that. So that means some sort of like a basic development experience as well. So considering all of this, you can transition into a full-time security role if you have the basics of Linux, networking, and the whole that mechanism with respect to the TLS implementation, the security, and read some of the good stuff, right? Encryptions, right? And all of that. So that is the fundamental building block if you want to get into the security as like a full-time. That is one thing that I personally think about. Like, knowledge of Linux is paramount.
And people actually tend to forget that because they starting jumping on learning Docker, Kubernetes, where they doesn't know the platform, because ultimately without platform it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because many times the issue you have to troubleshoot on the OS level, right?
Correct.
And they do not have, I think universities and students, they started directly jump on that. Even they have a curriculum, but professors or university update, they doesn't have that much knowledge.
Yes.
That's what I saw.
No, it is actually right, and that is one advice that I want to give to all the students, that don't chase the shiny toys.
Right.
You have to start with the basics. Start with the basics of C programming, right? The pointers and all of that, because it's an unpopular opinion right now. But what cloud has actually done is to create some really bad programmers.
Right.
Because you can write bad code and get away with it, because there is cloud which will auto scale.
Yes.
You remember, like, we put a man on the moon with 4 KB of RAM, right? Now we are struggling to run a microservice with 6 GB of memory.
Exactly. Earlier we used to run that 500 to like 512 MB is a good big for us.
Yes.
Now even 16 GB RAM is not enough.
So from kilobytes to gigabytes, and we are still struggling. And the technologies like serverless and scaling and all of that has basically taken that objective of optimizing the code
Yeah, I remembering the one of the famous quote from which I read on the Auth0 blog. Focus on code, not on server.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's what you have to get back into your basics, and CLRS is definitely one of the good books that you should definitely be reading.
Okay.
You have to go into the data structures and all of that to understand, to build the blocks, because all of them comes from the building blocks, and if you don't have the basics, you are definitely bound to fail.
I'm sure they're going to listen, and please, I always say in my talk as well, figure out and work on your basics and try to revise it every time, because I've seen, let's say once you grow after a couple of years, you tend to forget your basics as well.
Yes.
Because you start maybe shift to other responsibilities, but those basics really help a lot if your fundamentals are clear.
Yeah.
And that will give you in the long run, right? And gives you that clarity. Even if you go on to customer centering role, you will be able to understand their requirement as well.
Yeah.
You will be able to communicate it as well. Okay, last question is, like, you've been to so many conferences, right?
Yeah.
What is the one thing that you liked about Google Cloud Gandhinagar, and what is something that we can also improve as a community? Because this is our first conference. We are a 1-year-old community. We didn't have, as you know, we didn't have that much social media reach.
Yeah.
But we did our best in last 1 month. We created our social accounts last month only.
Oh, okay.
But yes,
that's tremendous progress, and I think one thing that I can definitely feel right away is the warmth and the hospitality of the GDG Cloud Gandhinagar team. Tremendous thing, and whatever you have achieved in the last 1.5 months, and rallying a full team of volunteers and all of that, right? Getting behind, finding a superb venue like this, that's commendable job. And maybe, as you scale up into the next event, maybe you could break out into multiple sessions.
Yes.
Because multiple tracks,
Yeah.
right? And because not everyone would be comfortable in listening to all the things.
Makes sense.
Right? And like, for example, I come from a security networking system side.
Right.
I am not that much into AI and ML.
Makes
right? So that would probably be something I may get bored, although that's something which I may want to learn.
Right.
But let people choose, right? Rather than pro. So that's just one thing that
distributed approach always works, because that's where people can see where they want to spend their time and money as well.
Yes.
Right. But again, thanks Runcy for coming.
Yeah, sure.
I hope you had a great time.
Oh, very, very good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mehul. Yeah.